Well, back at the Falcon again. Hopefully today is the day we can light this thing off. Um, Going through pretty much final fire attempts here. Made a smart choice of wearing a white t-shirt today, so I'm already filthy, but I got the distributor and everything is wired and ready to go, hoping that this should, in theory, actually work. I know this is good. I do need to adjust the points, but then I realized I did not prime the motor. In this scenario, with everything being fresh and running a flat tap or a hydraulic um, flat tappet cam, I figured it'd probably be best if I drop a new shaft in the distributor and spin this oil pump a ton, try and get some pressure up first, since I'm already fighting a million variables right now. Underneath the car, I'll show you right now, I have a super high quality exhaust setup right now. Welded up that little flexi section. It's sitting on a block right now. The other side, same thing. It's just kind of patched together with what I have here, just so I can have mufflers on it. It's a Sunday morning, holiday weekend, so I'm probably going to wait another hour or so before I actually try lighting this thing off, just to be respectful in case anybody got after it last night. But we are getting pretty close here. I'm going to yank the distributor out. I'm going to return the motor over back to TDC to the marks that I got on the flywheel. Get that set up correctly. I got it marked here, so I'll basically get the rotor back to this point. That's going to be my TDC reference. Got it marked on the coolant hose, got it marked down here as well. But as long as I can get the block back to where it needs to be, then we should be good to go on that. I still haven't hooked up the throttle linkage. I don't think I'm going to today. Again, crappy and gloomy out, not raining, but yesterday rain kind of deterred me from getting this thing finished up yesterday and started. Also trying to take one of the bikes out today, so it's been a little while since I jumped on a bike and just got lost, so I think that's kind of the plan. Basically all I got left now is grab the hose, fill this radiator up with some water, pull the distributor, well, time it back to TDC, yank the distributor just because everything's marked there. I got a couple crappy busted distributors. Here's the one I'm probably going to actually end up putting back in the car because that's all stock internals, all factory parts. I don't remember what this one was. This was an original at one point, but it's gutted. I only got parts of it. But basically, I'm going to disassemble this top section so I can put a drill on the shaft. I'm going to leave the body on. I don't feel like trying to punch out all these pins that have been in there for 20, 30, 40 years, however long they've been in there. But I will be able to take this top section off, and I can chuck this top end up on the drill, drop this down onto the shaft, and just spin it as fast as I can for quite a while. Just make sure, give this motor every best opportunity not to wipe out a cam. And other than that, let me get this distributor apart real quick, and we'll be back. All right, so I took those two bolts out. Here's what you're kind of left with. You got a welded flange with the two bolt mounts and then a small little shaft. It's much smaller and will chuck up into my drill, whereas the original rotor locator is too big for my small drill. The other option you have here, which I will do at some point, I'm going to gut this distributor all the way and basically just save this distributor shaft for a motor oiling primer tool. There's two roll pins. Hopefully you guys can see that on that bushing right there. There's another one on the gear. It does look like it's a cast iron gear on here. But basically take a little punch, pound those out. If they don't come out, you can drill them out too. That would basically free these up, and then the whole shaft would slip out the body up through the top. But this is the quickest and easiest way for right now. So I'm going to grab some brake clean, spray this down, wipe that down, drop this in, chuck a drill up on here, and get that spinning. All right, so just bump the motor back with the wrench back to TDC, so we're lined up here. Don't know exactly how perfect it is. I do have a keyway mark that I put on the crank pulley down below that pretty much sits at 12 o'clock at TDC. Did all that with the valve covers and the heads off, or with the heads off rather. Verified that location, put one reference mark down at the bottom. So this is definitely within a couple degrees of TDC at the very least. Plenty to get fired up. We'll definitely have to bump the timing a hair, I think, as soon as it starts. I've never had luck at TDC. It's always got to be a little bit before, which is expected. That's where it should be. But just for first start, it tends to help a little bit. I could dial that in a little bit more, but I'm hoping I don't have to. Should at least get me in the general ballpark. Nothing beats doing the same thing over and over and over again. But leave the cap off. Loosen up our little 1/2-inch screw down here. Rest this down here. I'm not going to unwire anything because I don't think I have to. Then we'll drop an old parts distributor in there. Nice and greasy. Timing on this doesn't really matter. I just got to make sure it engages on the oil pump shaft. Well, I was being foolish. Dropped the distributor in. I literally was just talking about the gears. However, got ahead of myself. I was too busy thinking about trying to get this thing in here as a template, just because I found a disassembled one. I figured it'd go a little bit easier. Problem is, it only works if you actually take this shaft out. So I'm one more roll pin and this bushing away from actually having this distributor fully apart. This is a parts one. It's beat to crap. Everything needs a complete rebuild, and I have so many distributors. This would be the last one on my list to try and do. So I pounded the pin out. That actually came out surprisingly easy, but it was absolutely locked in the shaft. I don't have a press at the house, so I just took a grinder, swiped that down real quick, cut a notch, went a little deeper than I meant to, but oh well. For now, this will work fine. I'll do the same thing on this bushing at some point, but now I can actually drop this down the hole. Make sure that lines up, and now we have a free spinning oil pump. So now, if we come over here, distributor's dropped in the hole. There's no gear on it, so this is actually turning the oil pump. I'm gonna grab a drill, chuck it up on the end of this, and let her rip. So I got the drill chucked up onto the shaft in the distributor. Got the drill set on one. Hopefully I got enough battery. I didn't even check. Down to 2 bars, so we'll see. 2 of 4. But we will check this and spin this in reverse direction, because I believe that's the way that this goes. And just pump it up. Ideally, the best way to do this would be to pull a valve cover and keep cranking it over and over and over on the pump until you start getting oil back up to the top of the head. I don't think I want to go that far. Definitely getting a lot of resistance on the drill right now. I crank it up to 2. The faster it spins, the harder it gets. It's not just the battery there, that's oil pressure. But we'll throw a new battery in just because. Here it's fighting right now. It's fighting a ton of oil pressure. Go back to 1. Good there. Big electric drill would definitely work a lot better. Strongly recommend it, because this does not like that. Let's drop the old distributor back in now. By old, I mean the actual good one. We got dangling here. Hopefully it drops right in. No guarantees ever. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. Or when it does want to drop in, it's never in the right spot. So. Right there, we're dropped in and on the keyway. And what I like to do at this point is actually bump the motor over. Let's see if this will crank. Hopefully that showed up on camera, but the distributor definitely just dropped in as soon as I bumped that there. Turn the key back off, so now we can rotate this back if we need to. However, this was lined up where it needed to be. Just to verify, drop this down, throw the bolt in. It is in the right spot. I just got to bring it back up to my marks and verify that the 12 o'clock mark on the balancer actually lines up where it's supposed to. I never went as far as to actually check the stock balancer for the timing marks, and not using the factory ones. I think I got it laid out on there, but I don't remember where I even have the pointer on this. Might actually have two. Oh yeah, no, I do have one behind the red hose at the bottom. So let's turn this motor back around. Yeah, we definitely off a tooth. That's unfortunate. That's where I need it. And she needs to go. Okay, so essentially I got the motor set back to TDC. Lines up with the mark that I have on my pulley. I did mark the balancer looking down here now. I know you guys can't really see what I'm doing, but there's a yellow line right there. That's my 12 o'clock point for the cam. And way back here, behind all of these coolant hoses and oil drive, down there in that valley that you guys won't be able to see. Hopefully you guys can make out that little tiny line up there. That lines up with a lower timing pointer. So this is essentially laid out where it needs to be. The only issue is I had the distributor clocked here. We're now pointing over here. So if I were to do this and put the cap back on, I'm essentially one plug off, half a plug, half to 3/4 of a plug off. If I keep this at TDC for number 1, essentially this should still work. All I need to do is drop the cap back on, and basically, because this is my number 1, sorry, I got all sorts of out of focus. This is my number 1 fire plug. This is what I have it set up as. I would have to clock the distributor to line it up at the timing pointer over here, which really isn't the worst thing in the world. If I have enough spin on this. Yeah. No, we'll just lift it out and try and click it over one more tooth. Make sure you turn the key all the way off, like I didn't just do. Distributor makes spark. That's a good thing to know. Just want to pull this out. I'm gonna turn the point open, and I just got zapped. Normally I'd be more upset, but now I know it's working. So I think I want to be about there. Drop this back, see what happens here. Still gotta go through the distributor looking at the points right now. It shouldn't be too hard to get to. Well, now it's in the right spot, but we are 180 out because we're pointing to the back. This needs to point to the front. Right there. Now our pointer's pointing in the right direction, so that's a lot better. This can go back on. No, it can't. Getting ahead of myself again. Put the distributor thing back in. Shut that down. It would have been way easier doing this if I left the radiator hose off until the very end, but I thought I was almost done. To adjust those. So now I got this set up to adjust the points. Essentially, I got it lined up directly onto one of the lobes on the distributor. They're opening, if I advance them, really, you know what? We're gonna leave it right there. Like I said, I pulled this distributor out of the truck. I could open those up just a hair more, but I think that should be okay. This was working in my truck. It should, in theory, work now. I also just got zapped when I moved it, which means it is sparking. So we're gonna call that about good. Throw the cap back on. Snug this distributor down just a hair. Not hold tight, just snugging it up because we're going to 100% have to move that. Do not have any cooling fans set up on this motor yet. It's also surprisingly pleasant and cool today. It feels very fall. So I should be okay. If I need to grab a fan, I can climb up those. I don't know how much time I'm going to have to do a full break-in on this. But if I can get it to pop off and run, then I can prep the rest, throw an electric fan on here, just wire it straight to the battery, and let her rip. Well, squirt bottle of gasoline. Garden hose into the radiator. Distributor hooked back up. I gotta find a vacuum fitting for that carb. I just realized I might just steal the one off of my truck for now. Looking at that. Not running vacuum advance, not running any sort of manifold or vacuum right now. Just straight carb. PCB's blocked off on the back. Brake booster's blocked off on the front. Brake booster's blocked off on the back of the carb and the intake. See how thirsty this thing is for some water. And we will jump around back up front, or jump to the back, fill it up with some gasoline in the tank, see how that goes, because I've never poured gas in that tank. I don't know if it leaks, I don't know if it holds. I don't know how much gas is in there. I'm guessing not any, but getting close. Let me finish filling this up, because trying to do this one-handed and monitor it is not working out so well. Well, coming from being a free radiator, this thing is thirsty. She's pretty thick. I had to cut out reliefs to make it fit on the front of the motor, and I think it's a 3-quart. There's a lot of water in there, so should help with the cooling. Now we get to do the fun, ultra safe, old steel 5-gallon gas can. The old fuel tank. Metal funnel, old 5-gallon tank, super vintage, nice and safe. Like I said, I've never really tested this yet, but here's the final fill up for fuel. I'm not gonna go crazy yet. Oh no, I got some on the paint, it's ruined. Well, don't see any drops yet. I'm gonna let that sit for a minute before I go crazy with it. But she's got fuel, she's got water. I don't know what else we need. Get you guys back in the engine bay. Got a squirt bottle here for the carb, so we're gonna fill up the bowl of the carburetor. Top this off periodically. It doesn't really need to be completely full yet because it's all gonna get sucked through. And maybe just kind of dry off some of the engine bay stuff from the water that I just spilled everywhere. To see if got any major leaks, and we're gonna light this thing off in a little bit. Well, I forgot about the trans fluid. Not nearly as important yet, but I don't want to fire it up dry. I think I spilled a good amount of this already. There should definitely be some left in this trans. For a second I thought that this was the other trans that got cracked and rewelded. So I'm gonna drop 2 quarts in here, see what this looks like. Just enough to keep it from, like I said, I'm not hooking anything up. The trans lines are all looped. Not going crazy with this, but better safe than sorry. Let's start with 1.5. Now that I think about it, I think this trans is actually pretty full. Just pulled a little out of the dipstick and then tail shaft housing, putting them together, but I gotta go too crazy on this one. Just make sure there's some fluid in there. If you don't have one of these, that's my favorite funnel. Today is the day of slinky metal products, I think. Slinky metal on the exhaust and the filler, gas filler, everything today. That should put us just about there. I think, I don't know. I gotta check the time. I think it's like 10, 11 in the morning. Not super late, not super early, but we'll give this a shot, see what happens here shortly. Let me run inside. I'm gonna refill my super fancy pink coffee cup. Keep going since it's a little early for normal folk to start drinking, I guess. But we'll find out. I got buddies coming over, I think, at some point. Like I said, we're gonna take the bikes out a little bit later on today. No rain, but also no sun. This is my favorite weather to ride in. A little brisk, throw a hoodie on and put some miles down.